Recording from St. Louis, Missouri, welcome to the Slap Save Pinball Podcast with your hosts, Chris Haper and Jason Fowler.
So this is Jason Fowler, and we are walking into the Texas Pinball Festival for the first time. And the first thing that strikes you when you walk in the door, and it is 5 o'clock on the dot on Friday, is just the sheer size and scope of this facility. I looked it up. I think you're looking at around 42,000 square feet of convention center space and games just that puts every other show really that's out there, just swamps them in size. Just walked in the door. Last year there was the tournament area that was up front right as you walked in. That congestion, which never really worked, has now been rectified because they have now moved that all into another meeting area room. So when you walk in, there's some black blinds, huge ceilings, probably 50 to 60 feet tall, just an absolute dwarfing type landscape. Walk in, there is rows set up. It's not real clear. There's not aisles per se. There's groupings of machines with a lot of black dividers set up by individual vendors. I'm walking down now. I'm on the right side of the convention center area. There's the usual folks set up. There's Pinport, there's Pin Graphics. Familiar faces if you know those guys. We're coming up on Kingpin Games, has a huge area set up with an amazing setup. They have scaffolding set up with video cameras looking down on some of the JJP games that are displaying the games up on LCD displays above the games, and it looks incredible. I'm going to have to get this on video so you can see it. Right in the center of their display, it's not every machine, but they've got 4 machines set up with these cameras, displaying them up on these, I would say, 42-inch screens that are set up vertically. Looks absolutely nuts. Absolutely nuts. Already, we just walked in the door. The entire area is full. There's lines already at the machines, and it just opened. People ran in as fast as they could. Continuing the walkthrough, we are in front of the Flippin' Out booth that Zach Mini's set up. He's got a Oktoberfest that right now Greg is already playing, which is funny because he probably has the opportunity to play it all he wants at Zach's house. Actually, maybe that's not true. They don't live that close, but Josh Kugler is standing behind him and kind of overlooking his shoulder to make sure everything is running smoothly, and it seems to be. There is a line in front of Oktoberfest. Beatles is also set up, not quite the same line. There is one in front of it, but it looks like that's about it for Zach's. There's a lot of free play machines set up, some that aren't even set up completely yet. Moving around the corner, you have the American Pinball booth is set up with Oktoberfest. Amazing lines at every single machine. People are really anxious to try out the machines and get on them. I take that back. There is one Houdini I just spotted. So moving on, there's a lot of free play machines set up. These are individuals that bring the machines, that set them up for the weekend and get in then for free. On the right side, we have Circus Maximus set up in their normal large booth with a lot of paraphernalia, a lot of references to Kingpin, and yes, indeed, on the end is Kingpin set up, and there is quickly a line. Looks like we've got 2, 4, 6 people set up playing Kingpin. Such a great game. If you ever get to a show, make sure you get the opportunity, make sure you get to try it out. So moving on, we've got some really unique games set up. In the far left corner of the convention center, we have some arcade cabs that are set up, and there's also a pavilion set up with digital pinball underneath, like VP type pinball. Looks like a Merco booth with all of their gleaming play fields propped up left and right, front and center. People checking those out. It has some really nice glittered versions. And then coming in about the middle of the convention center, we have the Stern set up, a lot of Monsters machines set up, all the latest Sterns, Iron Maiden, Star Wars, Deadpool, countless Monster machines. There's got to be at least 15 Monsters machines in all different trim levels. And on the outside of that, you have a lot of free play machines that are for sale. In front of me, I see a Ghostbusters, a Sorcerer, a Gorgar, a Whirlwind, all with for sale signs on them, a Tommy, a Bonsai Run. Most are being played, some with a line, some with people just standing behind them trying to get a glimpse of gameplay of machines they have not seen before. Coming up in the middle of the convention center, we have the Fun booth by Mesquite, Texas-based distributor Fun. They have multiple Beetle pinball machines, a lot of newer Sterns, a few older machines, including a Popeye. It's like a Bride of Pinbot. I'm assuming that's part of theirs. Most of these have prices on them. There's a really nice Theater of Magic with a really hefty price tag of $94.95. There's an Indiana Jones that looks to be in fantastic shape that is also at $89.95. 2 Beatles pinball machines. Those are the lower trim levels, of course, because they're probably not going to put anything out that is going to rack up a $25,000 price tag. And moving on the outside and perimeter of the show, a little bit less traffic on the outside, and we are coming up on Spooky. Every year they're in about the same area, right next to Back Alley Creations, and Matt, his talented stuff is on display. Just an incredible artist. He's always easy to spot with his incredible mohawk and crazy piercings. Always willing to talk to you, super friendly guy. And then we have Spooky, and they are showing off 2 Alice Coopers. They've got all their normal swag for sale, cups, beer koozies. We've got a nice sign up now that's talking about the machines and what they offer. And moving on to the outside, we've got, it looks like a Starship Fantasy, which is they have a huge display set up with a lot of ramps. They're not efficiently set up, actually. They're on tables, but a lot of space in between. We've got some cabs. Coming up on Pin Sound on the outside, they have a Addams Family and a Star Trek Next Gen showing off some of their wares and what they do. And then we have Measle Mods showing off their mods that they have that are highly regarded. Looks good. And right next to them, Lair Mods. A lot of great lighted displays. Just, as you can tell, it's pretty loud in here. You got a ton of pinball machines going at once. And then, coming up right now is Suncoast Pinball with Cosmic Carnival. Trying to get a better look at it. Walking up on it now. It is looks to be a pretty symmetrical play field, but it's got some really interesting art on it. Very, what would you call it? Psychedelic paint job. A lot of yellow, a lot of bright blues. Almost looks to be like some UV lighting in there. It looks really good. Full LCD display. Really nicely done back glass. Some very crazy art going on. I love it. Absolutely love it. Very cool. Moving on, we've got a Dragon's Lair, like huge full-size Dragon's Lair set up. Another Cosmic Carnival. Honestly, they have a very big booth set up. A very nice presence for a machine that maybe many people don't know about. But based on what I've seen so far, just looking at it aesthetically, might be worth a look. Looks good. So in the center of the convention center, and moving back, we have 5 rows of machines set up, probably 10 long. Kind of an abbreviated area up front. Every single machine has people in front of them. On the left-hand side, we have Color DMD set up. They have a booth showing off their machines. They have a Game of Thrones and a Jackpot showing those. And more vendors. We have Double Danger. They sell clothing. I have a few of their shirts. I also designed our first t-shirt with one of their artists that did one of their shirts. Very cool stuff you should check out. And in the center, on the right, we have Cosmic Kart Racing and the P3 display. There is 7 machines set up, all with different one of the modulated kits, it looks like. No, 1, 2, 3, 4. We've got 4 with Cosmic Kart Racing, and then looks like a few with Lexi Lightspeed and Grand Slam Baseball. And Jerry is here showing them off and talking to the people and kind of walking them through the machines. And again, more in the free play in the area in the center, and walking up. Looks like Coin Taker is set up in the middle. Oh my goodness. Huge display. Selling all kinds of things. People are already lining up, buying things. Right-hand side, oop, there's a Thunderbirds. There is one person in front of the Thunderbirds. Another Oktoberfest. And it looks like Coin Taker has just a huge, huge setup. Lots of free play machines continuing in the center, back towards where we originally started with Zach's display. Again, it's not like a lap or orbit pattern to this facility like it used to be. Machines are kind of set up a little more haphazardly, which honestly isn't really a bad thing, because it kind of, I don't know, before it was almost lines that sort of made all the machines kind of drone together a little bit, but now it's a little more all over the place. Got a Scorbit has a booth. Have to look into that a little bit more. Interesting. Just first impressions are there are machines here that, yeah, honestly, almost any machine that you would hope to play is represented here in some fashion or another. Now, I can't speak to the condition they're in or the playability, but it certainly looks good at this point. It's just overwhelming. It's just an astounding number of machines. I'd love to get a solid number, and when I do, I will certainly pass that on. All eras. I just passed an era that had 7 or 8 EMs, and then instantly roll into some solid state machines from early on. Some guys that own the machines that are working on them, trying to get little last minute things ironed out. Most machines are on, with the exception of a group of about 4 over by Zach's display. Most look to be up and running and working in great shape. There's not any that are marked out of order. They're all set to free play, and just a lot of people playing pinball, having a blast. So coming up on the final leg, and then we'll shut her down, and I'm going down the final center corridor that has Pinball Refinery. Has on the back side of the original Coin Taker display is set up, and he has some very cool powder coated machines just done to the nines. And then we have Penn Stadium set up with color DMD, and they have this really cool setup. If you haven't been to a show before, they're lighting on, and then they put these pavilions up that are black, and they allow it to block the light, so you really get a cool effect of the lights themselves. And then the color MD displays, it honestly takes these machines to another level, and whether that's your thing or not, that's a subjective thing, but a lot of them are hard to resist. I'm telling you, they've got a Jackbot and a Bride of Pinbot that all done in these lights and really modernized. I don't see how you could look at these machines and think that they weren't the version to have, like really. Huge area of old EM machines set up in beautiful condition for the most part. Got a Broken Era, a Bonanza, a Centigrade 37, a Gottlieb Lucky Hand, an El Dorado City of Gold, a solid state that's in there that doesn't really belong, but is absolutely gorgeous. And the funny thing is, these machines, of all that I've walked around, all 8 of these machines, 9 of these machines, there's one person playing them right now. It's funny because it all has to do with what your era is of machines. If you love those machines and grew up playing them, that's what you want to try. But it's nostalgia. It's what we grew up playing. So guys my age are drawn to those games that were from the early solid state eras and moving forward. So those games don't get as much love, but they're worth a look for sure. So I'm gonna sign off. We will catch up with a little more info later. Take care.
1, 2, 3.